Hey, good morning, Ironman, and welcome back to another session. We're glad you're here with us today. We got a lot to go through again. And this, as we continue through our book that says, Let the World See You, from Sam Acho. In fact, I mentioned this last week, but Sam Acho is going to be here, the author of our book, and former Arizona Cardinal and Chicago Bear is going to be right out here on the grass Sunday night. He's going to be here Sunday night. He's going to be preaching here Saturday night, Sunday morning. And then he's doing our men's event, steak dinner, where he's going to be telling his story and talking about his books. You want to make sure and come. You can get tickets online at thegroveaz.org/men's, or you can buy them at the coffee shop this week, or I'll be selling them tonight and tomorrow morning in our meeting. So hopefully you can get there. We've already got about 50, 60 guys signed up, so it's going to be a great turnout. Probably going to get around 100 men out here outside, properly distanced, and we'd love for you to join us. So today we're going to get right into it, and I was reminded of this topic this week when I went to the grocery store, our little local bash is here, and walked in and I saw a sign that said, "Excuse our progress." And I had never heard that expression. In fact, I thought it was stupid the first time I saw it, and usually it says excuse, or it says work in progress, but this one said excuse our progress, and I thought, being in ministry, I always kind of look for opportunities to use something that I see during the week. And that really made sense to me, even though I thought it was dumb at first. Excuse our progress. And that's how we really kind of are as Christians and Christian men. We're not perfect. It says in 2 Corinthians 5:17, therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come, and the old one has gone, the new is here. It says exclamation point. But that's not necessarily true. Like once the old self's gone, it's gone. The old self tries to fight back in every day, so we are a progress. We're a new creation. We're headed in the right direction. We've been given forgiveness, but we're not perfect yet. We're still a work in progress, so excuse our progress. Maybe we should have that on a t-shirt, Ironman on the front, excuse our progress on the back, because we're not perfect. Imagine if we had a child. We got friends of ours that have a new baby girl. I worked with her, and just imagine if they kept that baby at home until the baby was a teenager, and nobody ever saw the progress that child made. There would be nobody encouraging her and telling her how cute she was and how good she was at doing this and that. We need to have that progression. We need to be out there and showing people that we're not perfect, but we're a work in progress, and we're growing and we're getting better each day. And with that, and with our spiritual development, there comes a point where we have to speak truth, and we have to share truth with other people. There's a place in Scripture where Paul reminds his friends in Rome about using their voices, and he took this passage from Moses in Deuteronomy, and it says this from Romans 10, verse 8. It says, "But what does it say?" And he's referring to Deuteronomy. He says, "The word is near you. It is in your mouth, and it is in your heart." That is the message concerning faith that we proclaim. If you declare with your mouth, Jesus is Lord, and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For it is with your heart that you believe and are justified, and it is with your mouth that you profess your faith and are saved. We need to start speaking this truth. We need to become a little bit bolder when it comes to sharing our faith, because as it says here, faith comes from hearing. And if people aren't hearing, they're not getting it. And now they might see you and see your example and those kind of things, but ultimately and eventually someone's going to have to share it with them. Someone's going to have to verbalize perhaps what you have been living. For myself, I grew up as a Christian. I grew up in a small town in the parsonage right next door to the church. My playground was the church. I crawling under pews and hanging out in the children's room during the week and playing with all their toys and their blocks, and we'd play capture the flag and all that stuff around the church. And I grew up going to Sunday schools, and my dad would have youth groups that would meet in our house, and they had a band that would play at night, and I'd go over there and watch them rehearse and stuff. So I was engulfed in it early. So I've never not known Jesus as far as I can remember. Now there's been many times I haven't really lived it that well, but I've always known about it. But it says now that faith comes from hearing. I'm good at knowing about Jesus, but am I good about sharing it as well? I want to ask you this: have you ever, and this is, you hear the game, have you ever done this? And I want you to think about this. Have you ever watched your kids perform in something and just been in awe of that? Or have you ever played golf with a scratch golfer? Have you ever been to a professional baseball game or a hockey game and you watch people do things, hit a 90-mile-an-hour fastball or stop a hockey puck that's going flying through the air at about the same speed. And you look at this and you're just in awe. You see a natural dancer. You watch a concert of somebody who's singing and dancing. You go into a soccer match and you see people that can just bring a soccer ball to life. There's something majestic about that. Living here in Phoenix, and I used to live in Northern California, got to go to some Warriors games. You got the Warrior shirt on here. I love watching Steph Curry play, and I had the opportunity of meeting him a couple of years ago, shaking his hand, putting my arm around him, getting a picture. I'm sure he is not remembering that. He does not have that picture on his wall like I do on mine. But that night I went to the game, and Curry scored almost 40 points just in the first half. It was majestic, like we were talking about here. Now, was it a coincidence that he had his best game of the year on the night that he touched my hand? I don't think so. I think there's a connection there. That's one of the things I believe in is connectedness. So watching Curry play, I got to see Michael Jordan play in person 3 times. One time on the front row in Oakland when they were playing against the Warriors. I got to see LeBron James play here in Phoenix, sitting in a luxury suite that someone had given my son and I an opportunity to sit there and watch the game. And it was amazing watching these guys and how easy they make it look like. But you can also do that as well. You're thinking, man, I don't have any of those kind of skills or whatever, but God has created you in ways that will blow people away, that you're going to amaze people and impress people. And it could be in very simple ways. It could be with your kindness. It could be with your wisdom. Usually when we're amazed at somebody, it's that they possess something that we don't. Okay, so it could be someone so much nicer than you are. Someone's kinder than you are. Someone is wiser. You might be impressed with somebody's wisdom. Maybe it's your humor or the way that you live a simple life that impresses people. Everybody's going to look at you differently based on what they admire in you. See, God is creative. He knitted us together in our mother's womb, as it talks about in the Bible. See, he created us so that we can be creative. And I want you to think about this. When I lived in Chicago, I would go to the Chicago Art Institute every now and then. They had one day a month where you could go in for free if you were an Illinois resident. And I would go in there and I was just amazed. And I would stand around and I would hear very pious, pompous type people standing there and observing the art and talking about this and that, and some were being critical of things, but usually they were being, super impressed and positive with a big, beautiful painting by Monet or Da Vinci or Michelangelo or something like that, because the Chicago Art Institute is one of the top art museums in the world. So there was all of these famous artists that were there. But the glory of the painting didn't go to the painting itself. The glory of that painting went to God. So when someone is impressed with a creation, the glory goes to the creator. Does that make sense? So if somebody sees you living a certain way or doing something, even if you don't intentionally give glory to God, God gets the glory because he created you. And that's amazing to think about. But I also remember talking to one of the curators there that they have a storage area that's equally as big as the rest of the museum that's like underground, where they keep other paintings from previous exhibits and exhibits that are about to come, or some that maybe didn't make the cut or whatever. But I think oftentimes we're like those paintings. We're like the paintings that are underground. We have a canvas over us. We're getting dusty in a dark room, and we're not showing the world how beautiful we are. And once we get out there and we can show people how we have been created, then again, the glory goes to God. Now, not to mention, he created us for these kind of things like kindness and simplicity and humor and stuff, but he also has given us all these spiritual gifts like preaching and teaching and encouraging and hospitality and all of these sort of things. So we got to put those into use, as well as the other type of traits that he has given us as well that are firmly embedded in our DNA. You see, God can take our greatest strengths he can take our greatest weaknesses and turn them into our greatest strengths. And we see that throughout the Bible. We talked about it last week where Peter denied Christ. Well, he went from denial to being probably one of the best preachers ever. He became the head of the church. We can go through the Bible completely. We look at Gideon and Moses and Joseph and all these different people through the Bible who did not feel like they were worthy. They had too many weaknesses. Moses especially, I think of when he talks about, I can't go before Pharaoh. I stutter. I got a speech problem. So we make excuses that we think that we can stay hidden because of. A few years ago, I had a meeting with a friend of mine who had just gone from being in ministry to being a life coach. And I thought, man, that's kind of a risky move. Well, in the meantime, this guy's absolutely killing it. He has corporate accounts literally all over the world, making hundreds of thousands of dollars in consulting fees and working with company employees and things like that. And he's doing great. And he took the time. He was in my men's group at the time. He was just kind of getting started. And he gave us this test that came from a group called Strength Finder. We're going to put the book up on the screen from Gallup. And it's a test that you take. It's about 100 questions, maybe 200 questions. It took like an hour or so. And it's very thorough. And it goes into finding out what your strengths are. But the cool thing behind the Strength Finder, and this is what was encouraging to me, it doesn't teach you to take your weaknesses and try to make them your strengths. Now, God can do that, but as individuals, that's hard for us to do. What they focus on is taking your top 5 strengths and helping you develop those and help you establish those and helping you show the world those strengths. So I want to just go through I'm just going to go through mine real quickly. This is all part of letting the world see you. I'm going to let you see me for a second. So my first one is called maximizer. Well, maximizers see talents and strengths in others. Maximizers love to help others get excited about their potential. Okay, that's my first one. My second one is positivity. People with strong positivity talents are generous with praise. They're quick to smile and always on the lookout for the upside of a situation. See, when I read these kind of things, this is encouraging to me because it's like, yeah, you do a pretty good job of this. Keep that up. And I think that's how God sees us too. The next one is adaptability. People with strong adaptability live in the moment and they don't see their future as a fixed destination. That's adaptability. The next one is activator. And it starts as when can we start? Let's get started. Let's go. I'm tired of sitting in meetings. This is a reoccurring question is when can we get going? People that are activators are often impatient and they're ready for action. They don't want to just sit around and talk about things. The last one is connectedness. Things happen for a reason. Okay. This gives other people comfort. They give others comfort that there's a purpose beyond everyday existence. Their faith is strong and it sustains them. And I like looking at those things and I think, yeah, that's me. How can I take those things, okay, and show the world who I am through using those? Now, not long ago, our church went through this Enneagram thing, which is a little bit more of a personality type, test and not theology, it's just train of thought. But they have it separated into 9 different categories. Well, my Enneagram number, as you also take a test and it kind of gives you this answer, was a number 7. Well, number 7 says this. I'm going to read this. We're going to put it on the screen. 7s are extroverted, optimistic, versatile, and spontaneous, playful, high-spirited, and practical. They can also misapply many of their talents, becoming overextended, scattered, and undisciplined, which totally is me. They constantly seek new and exciting experiences, but they can become distracted and exhausted by staying on the go with these new things. So I want to encourage you, find out who you are so that you can let the world see who you are. If you're not really convinced of who you are, who I am, how can you share that with the world? But get to know the real you. Get to know your strengths. Get to know your personality type that God created you to be so that you can be that light and that you can shine your creativeness towards Him. Now, you might think that you're not great at anything. As we start looking at this, you think, I got no strengths. I'm not good at this. But sometimes your determination is what makes you different. And that is a gift from God. Just being determined. I had an older brother who's 6 years older than me. Yeah, 6. And he was a great athlete. He was an all-state football player, basketball player, tennis player, golfer, all 4 in Mississippi back in the early 80s, late 70s. Well, he worked hard at everything that he got. Well, I also played 4 sports in high school, and I was also all-state at my school in basketball, but mine came a lot easier for me than it did for him. I had a lot more natural ability than he did, and I worked, kind of hard, but not near as hard as he did. And it used to frustrate him as he would watch me and think, you could be so much better if you were just a little bit more determined and would work a little bit harder. But just because you're not captain of the team, okay, maybe you're not the best player, maybe you're not the best staff person where you work, maybe you're not the most talented or creative, but that doesn't mean that you can't lead. Okay, there's different ways that you can lead. You can lead from behind. Leaders come in all shapes and sizes. Take your little niche and be the leader there that God has given you. So I want to go back to a thought now where it says, where we talked earlier about being a work in progress, or, please excuse the progress. Jesus showed us, and it says in Romans 5, verse 8, it says, but God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Okay, we were still in the process. We were still in this development process. He didn't wait until we were perfect, or he doesn't wait until we're mistake-free. Just like that toddler, we're not waiting to bring them out in public until they're walking and talking and running and all that. Okay, we bring them out. Okay, they're a work in progress. We're a work in progress. We are not mistake-free, but yet Jesus said, God says, even while we were still sinners, Christ died for us, right in the midst of our growth process. So this truth is kind of hard to comprehend sometimes. We ask ourselves, why? Why did Jesus do this? Who are we to be loved? We are children of God. There's no denying that. Okay, that's why he came to die for us. So if you're ever finding yourself unworthy or unloved or not good enough or not talented enough, remember who your Father is. Remember, he created you different from the other people around you, and that's okay, and that's good. And he did that on purpose because he's a creative God. He wants to get the glory through all of the different ways that he created all of us and through all the different giftedness that he's given us. So in conclusion, I want to tell you this: use your voice. Okay, faith comes from hearing. I want you to use your voice. You've been a Christian for a long time, a lot of you guys. Now it's time to step out and to let people hear about your faith. It's time to take off that canvas from the storeroom, and come out and be that beautiful piece of art that God created you to be. So remember, your story is more than just about you. You might not ever understand why you went through a calamity, through a divorce, through a breakup, through COVID, through cancer, through heart attacks, or whatever it is that you've had. Maybe you and your wife had a miscarriage. My wife and I did, and we couldn't understand why would we have to go through that. And then, many times since then, I've seen my wife counsel other women that have gone through that. You just don't know. Depression, anxiety, all those things that we go through, once we get on the other side of that, we're able to help people that are going through that. There's a reason why God allows us to go through these things. He's not wasting your situation. It might be hard and you might not understand what's going on in the process, but remember, people are depending on it. They're depending upon your story. You might not even know it, but God is preparing you for someone who needs to hear what you've gone through. Someone needs to hear the difficulties that you went through. And you need to learn, and they need to learn from your story. Okay, you're not just going through it just to sit on it. If you go through a calamity or some kind of difficulty and you don't ever share your experience with anybody, then it was a waste. Then it was a lost cause. But when we go through that and then we can help other people as we share our story, then you got something good there. Then we're using the bad things as well as all the creativeness and all the good things that God has given us. Hope that encourages you this week, you guys. Go, be a voice, keep it real, and we'll see you next week.